Hello and welcome to part 2 of my mineral sunscreen roundup. I did an earlier video on all tinted mineral sunscreens and I'll link that up above. Go check that out if you're interested in looking for a tinted mineral sunscreen. Today's sunscreen review will be all untinted mineral sunscreens. Before we jump into this video, I want to talk about the latest hubbub about mineral sunscreens. If you haven't heard about it, it's kind of been around for maybe 6 or 8 months, the realization that some mineral sunscreens also have chemical filters. Now, I'm not fear-mongering, I just think it's good to be informed. And so I'm just passing on this information that was shared with me by a follower, actually. And I think it's always, as consumers, good to know the ingredients that are in our product. Lab Muffin did a whole review on this and I'll link that down below. And if I can find any other great mineral sunscreen review topics on this drama around chemical sunscreens being in our mineral sunscreens, I will let you know. In the collection that I have today, only one of them contains this chemical filter, and it's not an officially recognized sunscreen filter, but it functions like a sunscreen. You may see it as a booster in your sunscreens, but the reason that there's this sort of controversy is it's not being disclosed as a chemical filter, but it's showing up in some of our all mineral sunscreens. I don't really get too excited about mineral or chemical. You need to find a sunscreen that works for you. I love the fact that they're trying to make mineral sunscreens more skin friendly because every once in a while I need a mineral sunscreen. My face just feels sensitive that day and I want to reach for a mineral sunscreen. They have their place in our sunscreen wardrobe, but I also don't want to say that they're better than chemical sunscreens. I love some of my chemical sunscreens. I do have an issue with one chemical filter, and for the life of me, I can never remember it, but I will link it down below. But that's just me. You would be fine with all chemical filters. I feel there's a place in my sunscreen wardrobe for the occasional mineral sunscreen, so I'm always on the hunt. And I also know that there's some of you that can't tolerate the chemical filters, so I'm always on the hunt for tinted mineral sunscreens that you guys will enjoy and untinted ones. So let's jump into this video finally. Enough of all the chit chat. I'm gonna share with you 8 mineral sunscreens. So we have a lot to get through. The first one I want to share with you is the La Roche-Posay. I'm gonna have to use my glasses today. I have terrible allergies and contacts are just not an option. This is the La Roche-Posay Face and Body, a drugstore sunscreen, super affordable. La Roche-Posay is on the expensive side of drugstore, but definitely you get quite a bit. You get 3 ounces. It's zinc and titanium both, and it's supposed to be for face and body. So I was just trying it out for the face, and you'll see how this looks on my Fitzpatrick 2 skin. It is a significant white cast. This is not one that I will be reaching for. Maybe for a body sunscreen, that will even leave quite a bit of a white cast on me, but on my body area, I'm kind of less concerned. Another drugstore sunscreen I picked up is by ThinkSport. This is a new brand to me. It may have been around for a while, but it's new to my local Target. And what caught my attention is the SPF 50 and the clear zinc claim. This has 23% zinc oxide, so I was extremely hesitant that this would not leave a very significant white cast on my skin. And as you can see from my demo, it leaves a significant white cast. I would not be comfortable wearing this out. It's too greasy. I can't put any makeup over it. I could powder it down. One way you can get over using a very heavy zinc sunscreen with a real heavy shine and a heavy weight to it is by using a translucent SPF powder. Some of my favorites are the Supergoop SPF 35 Translucent Resetting Powder. Derma E also makes an SPF 30 Natural Matte Face Powder. One of my final recommendations is the Color Science Brush On Sunscreen Mineral Powder. A lot of these come with refillable cartridges, so they're also quite economical. A new sunscreen launched by Murad is their Environmental Shield Serum. This is SPF 45, 4 pluses. This is a very thin consistency, so it's definitely more of a serum texture. Again, this leaves a bit too much of a white cast for me and it feels a bit too heavy on the skin. I can get this to work if I powder it down. Unlike the ThinkSport and the La Roche-Posay, it doesn't matter if I powder these down, these just don't work for a facial sunscreen. The Murad actually does work. It still leaves a cast on my skin and is quite shiny, so I definitely have to powder down with this, but I could definitely get away with this. I'm not sure I'd be too comfortable putting on a heavy foundation over it, but maybe some light tinted moisturizer would work well over this. A new sunscreen launched by Dermatology is their SPF 40 Day Cream. This claims that it's an all mineral sunscreen, but it does have the butyl octyl phthalate,
salicylate,
which is supposedly a chemical type filter. So if you have sensitivity to chemical filters and this is irritating your skin, you might know why. Doesn't bother my skin at all. I've used it multiple times. It's not one that I reach for very often because it does leave a slight white cast, very similar to the Murad serum. Not something I can't powder down, but it's just not one that is just cosmetically elegant to me personally. This new sunscreen launch by First Aid Beauty looks like it could be a winner because it's SPF 30 and zinc at 20%. However, as you see this go on, the white cast is unbelievable. It gets very chunky. It's actually almost impossible to work into the skin. And once you finally do, after quite a while of rubbing, it still is very cosmetically inelegant. It leaves a white cast and a very heavy, greasy feel to the skin. We have the Shade Drops by Sunday Riley. I tried this last year, had a lot of problems using it over some of my skincare products. It does have a tendency to pill. You might consider a tint. I considered it untinted, but looking back on it, it has a very, very slight tint to it. This dries down beautifully. Under the current skincare routine that I'm using, it didn't pill at all. I'll put my skincare routine down below in the comments if you want to check that out. Absolutely no pilling, but it does dry down very nicely. It is one of the nicer formulas that I've tried with all mineral filters. I would definitely reach for this again, especially now that I'm having better luck having it not pill. If you like a sunscreen that kind of dries down to a very semi-matte finish, you might enjoy this a lot. Another new sunscreen launched by Josie Moran is their Get Even Skin Milk. This is a titanium and zinc oxide formula. It's not as serum-y as Murad Environmental Shield, but it is kind of a thinner formula. This left a little bit of white cast on my skin. I definitely feel like powdering it down. It's a 33% mineral sunscreen, and it also has a little bit of fragrance. So if you don't want fragrance in your sunscreen, then this would be a pass for you. Definitely an old-time favorite by Biossance. This is their Sheer Zinc mineral formula with squalane. I've loved this sunscreen for years. It definitely does need powdering down, but it's not quite as heavy as some of the other formulas. I do reach for this when I really want a mineral sunscreen that isn't going to irritate my skin. This is a great formulation. Like I said, it has a bit of shine, so if you don't want any shine in your mineral sunscreen, this might not be the formula for you. It leaves a very minimal white cast, but after it dries down, for me personally, it's almost undetectable. My top two picks for this roundup of untinted mineral sunscreens is at number 1, the Summer Fridays Shade Drops. I might have said Sunday Riley's earlier, but forgive me if I did. It's Summer Fridays Shade Drops and SPF 30. So this would be a daytime sunscreen, not something that I would wear if I was doing any active activity or staying out in the sun really long. But the reason this is number 1 is I like the way it dries down. I don't have to powder it. I can just move on with my makeup if I'm wearing makeup that day, or just on its own, and it still looks really nice. Number 2 is my all-time favorite Biossance Sheer Zinc Squalane formula. The reason this is number 2 is it does have that shine to it. It doesn't leave a white cast once it dries down, but it still has that shine, which I occasionally feel like I need to powder down. So that's why this is number 2. I will continue to do sunscreen videos throughout the year, so definitely subscribe, like, and click that notification bell so you don't miss my next upload. And please pass this video on to a friend if you think they might enjoy it, because I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by January. Fingers crossed with your help that I can make it. Thanks very much for watching, and wishing you a skintastic day.